wrestling with wrestling's past and present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley. Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
I'm taking some of that home.
Definitely not is the barn burner that Lee Cassidy and Tiger thing was, but we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
It's still real to me, damn it.
He kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
Wale. I don't listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir. No, it wasn't.
I feel like Vince is just gonna have them team together and be like, have them called Woo Bro. Like they're just gonna be the Woo Bros. Like, anyway.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely,
and then you can listen to us too.
Strap on and balls only on wrestling past and present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Warrior, and you're listening to Wrestling where wrestling's past and present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kirk.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And today it is all about AEW Revolution 2022. Before we get into that, we did mention that we were going to do a review of Revolution 2020. But stupid us, we already covered that show, episode 14. So if you want to listen to our thoughts, go to episode 14 in the archives and listen to that.
And like Mongo said before we went live, we don't do remixes, so there's really no point in covering that since we already covered it.
Yeah, absolutely. Second, before we get into Revolution, we're back at full strength. The 3-man booth today. The last couple of weeks, we've had, my personal life has, been, I would just say there's been stuff going on in there. So it was difficult for me to make the show a couple weeks ago. And then Roland wasn't feeling well last week. So, but luckily we're all back to full strength today and ready to rock today.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, Mongo's got something going here.
No,
thanks for covering for me last week, guys. I know that we would do the same for anybody else. So, just one of those things where I woke up, had a killer headache. I tried logging on to get to the screen, pretty much went cross-eyed once my eyes hit the screen. I'm like, this isn't going to work. This is just one of those type of migraines that the light wasn't going to help. And I figured it made more sense to try to lay back down versus trying to gut through it and then suffer because I had to work that afternoon after. So I tried to be the responsible adult, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the worst part too, is when you're not feeling great too, is you don't want to sit here and shoot the shit because then you're just going to be like, I'm exhausted. You don't feel like yourself. And no, I'm pretty sure at one point we either went red ass or someone had technical issues. So we still made sure we filled in for everything for you. I joked that I was going to see you on mute the whole episode.
Hey, the show sounded good. I listened to it Saturday night. I made sure I texted you guys. My mom was happy with the 30.
Yeah, that was definitely a Linda episode last week.
Yep.
So, all right, perfect. And Mongo, what were you playing, by the way?
I was trying to get the boys are back in town for us, but my phone was freezing, so I didn't want to skip in.
A little Thin Lizzy reference on the show today.
Well, no, because finally the three of us were back, so let's go. We're going to
you could have played Eric Bischoff's. Well, I guess that's
I would have had to play that.
Yeah, you would have had to play that,
which I did when I came back from my my surgery. So we've already used that one.
Let's get right into it. AEW Revolution 2022 takes place tomorrow. 12 matches to discuss.
Before we go too far, Tim, can I just address the elephant in the room about people that don't know their head from their butthole about talking about AEW? I'm just going to throw this out there now, get it out of the way, because we have people that make comments. I'm not going to say any names or whatever. We have people that make comments that are unfactual, that are stupid, that are just make you seem ignorant. And there was a comment made that AEW has a roster of 50-year-old men and 75 cruiserweights or whatever it is, and that it's not watchable because of it and whatever. And now you're either the biggest WWE mark in the world, or you just don't enjoy pure wrestling, because you're not going to get pure wrestling in WWE like you would in AEW. And to be fair, there's like 5 guys on the roster in AEW that are over 50, and only like 2 of them are legitimate, like in-ring performers. Some of them are, you know, part-timer trainer type, you know, coaches, stuff like that. You have pretty much Sting and Jericho are really the only 2 legitimate performers, and Sting hasn't had, this is what I'll point out too. Yes, Sting is 62. Sting has looked great, but they're smart. He has not had one singles match, and he's not going to. They're going to protect him. They're going to have him in tag matches. They're going to use him sparingly, and they're going to do what they've been doing because that's the way to do it. And if for some reason there is a singles match when Sting decides to leave, I assume it'll have something to do with Darby, and it'll be a cinematic type match, and it won't be a real match. So anybody that has that mindset, like I said, I'm not singling anybody out. I'm just saying anybody that has that mindset needs to do a little bit of research, because all we had to do was look at Reddit, and Mongo did this for us the other day. The average age of the rosters between WWE and AEW is a 1-year difference. So,
well, but to be fair to that person that made that comment, it's not like WWE has Goldberg come back as a 50-year-old part-timer or anything like that. So, I mean,
right. Well,
yeah,
that's the thing that like got me was like, you know, you're bringing Goldberg back like a couple times a year for the last 3 years, and it's like
in a main event.
Yeah, and like I said, it's either a trolling comment, which if it was, then okay, you got me to talk about it, and congratulations. But I'd like to think that a lot of the fans that listen to our show are smarter than that. Like that they're, you know, kind of students of the game. And a lot of the ones we interact with are. They make very, you know, insightful comments, and they participate well. But every now and again we get these comments, and it's like, do you listen to what you say? Because it doesn't like I said, Jericho essentially is the only full-time wrestler, and even he has toned it back a bit in the last year of wrestling all the time. So I don't understand. And 75 cruiserweights. So to be a cruiserweight, you have to be what, like 215 or under? Like there aren't that many. I mean, I know they have some smaller guys, but
have they seen the ladder match? Because half the ladder matches, like, it was at one point like, this is a beefy ass ladder match.
yeah.
but I mean, if they had made the WWE, you know, them signing all these WWE guys, then I'd give you a little bit of credit in a way, because they've had to, because why would you not let talent that was out there, why would you not sign that talent? But to, you know, make that type of comment and, you know, say, well, their roster's over, you know, all full of 50-year-old guys. It's like,
no,
they have Dustin, Danielson, Cody. Just said Cody, so Mongo would go like brutal. But yeah, so Dustin, Danielson, Jericho, Sting, and Billy Gunn. Like those are essentially and all of them pretty much are part-timers now. Like Jericho still is prominent because of the character he is, and Sting is on TV a lot. But other than that, the other guys pop up here and there.
The difference is they use their older vets and their, you know, icon legends, whatever you want to call them. They use them differently, and they use them how they should be, as featured. WWE will literally put them in a main event storyline. So that's the difference between the two companies. Like Tim said, they had Goldberg come back. How many times has he won the title from the Fiend at the Saudi show? Like, you had someone who was a part-timer who was not only over the hill but riding his bike down the other side, win the title from the Fiend. So it happens. Wrestling's going to have, because guess what? You need names on a poster. I guarantee if Hulk Hogan could still wrestle, Vince McMahon would have him wrestle at WrestleMania this year. It's what you do as a promoter. And to the whole, still hate the whole, another ex-WWE guy. We've gone over to death, but when you have 200 people are released out into the world, which Vince McMahon just called on Pat McAfee's show, I cut dead weight. That's word for word what he said is dead weight, which I hope Matt Cardona comes out somewhere just to make Roland pop with all his 8 title belts he has now, puts them on a scale and says, how's that for dead weight? Like, sorry, but like you said, AEW is going to look at the talent like, holy crap, you released a lot of great wrestlers, and they've signed like maybe out of the 200 again, like 40 or 41. And it's going to be an ex-WWE guy when, 15 years, you pretty much had a stranglehold on the industry, and that's where everybody worked. That's like saying to WWE, oh, look, an ex-Ring of Honor guy. Everywhere's going to have an ex-guy. Hulk Hogan wasn't a WWE guy. He was a territory guy that they stole and used and turned into their guy. It's what wrestling does. You have people come. So it's funny how, like Roland said, they don't really know from a wrestling standpoint because these people have to realize that they come from territory. That's what Vince did. He bought up the territories. He took all the talent. AEW just bought Ring of Honor to make an NXT. So now this bloated roster, they can use between Ring of Honor and AEW, and they have a developmental system so they can train their younger guys who are still green as shit and not have to use them on Dynamite and not just stick them on Dark to, whittle away and talent going in. So people are shitting on that too. It's like, this is a great time to be wrestling. That's why I love doing this podcast with you guys. And that's why, like, this pay-per-view, coming up tomorrow, we have some great matches and we have some great talent. And if, like you said, if you're just going to make a troll comment, it's a bunch of 75 cruiserweights, well, then you know what? Then you obviously don't even watch a show because it's not like every single match is flippy-dippy. They have some pretty matches that are like the MJF Cm Punk feud we'll talk about later. That's going to beat the shit out of each other. It's going to be an old-school wrestling match.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right into it. A couple matches on the pre-show to go over. The first is Hook versus QT Marshall. I think I'm glad it's on the pre-show. I'm not a big QT Marshall fan. I know Hook's got the momentum. I think it's going to be a quick match, probably a 5-minute match. I think Hook's going to get the win.
Yeah, you can't let Hook lose to QT Marshall.
Yeah.
No offense. Hook's red hot. He's been pretty much systematically going through the factory. So I think, disrespecting QT essentially, according to him, and all this stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be Hook all day long.
No, absolutely. Send Hook, baby, because I love how they're building him. They understand that he's over because he was a mystery, and then his charisma. So you got to keep riding the train, because if he loses, for what? Give QT a meaningless win that won't do anything.
Yeah.
And everyone agrees, because out of the 30 responses we have, 100% say send Hook.
That's awesome. Did we hook them in with the survey?
No, but I want to say thank you, everyone. I mean, that's insane. Like, we put it up pretty late last night. They already get 30 responses. It's 10 a.m. right now as we're recording this. Like, thank you. And we'll keep it up, obviously, till the show. So I like reading them. It's fun because I like to see where everybody kind of thinks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. More participation we get, the better. Makes the show better, and we love hearing your opinion. Except for the person that. Anyways,
well, like I said, I don't mind when someone has an opinion, but like to put numbers out there without any factual evidence, you're just making stuff up. Is what you're doing.
Absolutely. Next up is another singles match. You have Leila Hirsch against Chris Statlander. And again, I think it'll be a fairly quick match, but I think it'll be a solid match. But I'm going to go with Statlander for the win.
Yeah, I mean, this one's somewhat tough because they've been building Leila Hirsch, so I don't know where they plan to go after this with her. They've kind of turned her heel and made her kind of the jilted friend, essentially, that is now attacking and all this stuff. But I mean, I don't think you can put Leila Hirsch believably over Statlander. I just don't. Unless she cheats to win, like that could be the way things have been going. That's the only way I see her winning. But yeah, I'm going to pick Statlander as well.
Yeah, I'm also going to pick Chris Statlander. Jeez, I almost said piss. But like Roland said, I can't see Leila going over, but I can see her winning if she cheats or if she does like a heel tactic. They've done a good job kind of building a feud from nothing. Like, I mean, just randomly passing on the hallway and starting a feud. It's be interesting to see, like you said, what happens afterwards. But Statlander has to go over just because she needs to keep that momentum so she can be a contender for one of the titles eventually too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the final match on the pre-show is a 6-man tag. You have the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews against Death Triangle, Pac and Penta, and Eric Redbeard. This one's a little bit tough for me because I think both teams could use a win. But I think if they want to keep the feud going, which I think they will because Eric Redbeard just debuted, I think House of Black's got to win here. I don't think you have the faces go over yet. I think that's kind of the blow off to end the feud. So I'm gonna go with House of Black here to win.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, this feud has kind of just been I get how they're going about it, and it was cool how the former Buddy Murphy debuted a couple weeks ago. Like that was pretty neat. But like I haven't really been invested in this at all. I feel like Penta and Pac are just like thrown together. I'm not a big fan of that death triangle thing, and
no bueno death triangle.
yeah, and I know they're just trying to like fill time until Rey Fenix comes back, but like I don't see how this thrown together team essentially of 3 guys, which is what Death Triangle right now is. I know Penta and Pac are a team, but like, okay. So yeah, I think, to keep the momentum going, I think it's almost a no-brainer that the House of Black has to win here, even if the lights go out and there's mist involved and there's, chicanery and whatever. I don't see it being a clean wrestling match per se, but I just don't see how the Death Triangle with Eric Redbeard can how it makes any sense for them to win this match.
So you're saying it's got to be chicanery.
Yeah.
But no, I agree 100%. It's got to be House of Black. It doesn't make sense to kill their momentum because they're being built as this dominant dark stable. And I like how they're doing it. It's not hocus pocus shit. It's just they believe in like some sort of dark entity. Like, okay, cool. It's like a cult type of thing. I agree, with how you said that. It just doesn't make sense. It's because Death Triangle is every time they try to make Death Triangle a thing, it just doesn't happen. It's because Pac, honestly. Pac just has charisma of a wet paint stick. Like he's a great wrestler, great talent, but his gimmicks suck. You don't really care. It's just some dude wrestling because. Like he's not there wrestling because I have passion. I want to be here. I want to be the best. He's just like, I'm a Boston. Like, okay, cool. So I think that's what brings that down. It's like you said, that's why we're not invested. So this feels like a stepping stone feud, but like, what are they feuding with? Because they're still teasing Julia Hart with her eye patch. So like, what are they feuding towards? So I'm curious to see where they're going to go because, like you said, this is just kind of a feud, and they're obviously blowing it off already because they're like, yeah, this sucks.
Well, and if Phoenix was able to go and he returned last night, I would have been like, ooh, things are getting a little interesting here. But it was no offense to Eric Redbeard. It was Eric Redbeard, not Rey Fenix. So. But
I think it's cool that even if they're just using him on a handshake deal for this, it's pretty cool to see that he's going to come in to have a match like that. It's kind of cool because unfortunately, the last time we saw him was during the Brody tribute, which I don't know who's cutting onions that night, but that was a hard one.
Yeah, no, dude, that was hard to watch.
Yeah. So that's the pre-show matches. So we'll get to the matches on the main card. We'll talk about this one. Unfortunately, it's Jade Cargill and Mrs. Sammy Guevara take Conti. I mean, we're not the biggest fans of Jade Cargill here. I think that's safe to say. This is for the TBS title, by the way. I don't see Cargill losing right now. I think she's going to retain.
Yeah, they're kind of doing the Goldberg push with her right now.
Yeah.
I don't know who will be the person to finally beat her, but I don't know if it's going to be Take Conti or not. I don't know. I really don't. It's tough because I'd like it to be because like Cargill is very blah to me. She's gotten better, but they definitely pushed her way too soon. She was too green, and her matches, for lack of a better term, just suck. Like they're not good. She's very stiff in the ring. She's very robotic. And again, not crapping on her. I just think that she wasn't quite ready, to make that level, that jump to the TV level. But clearly she has a look because that's why she has the title and that's why she's on TV. But this one's tough for me because my heart wants me to just like make her go off into the dark realm and not see her anymore. But I honestly think Cargill is going to retain.
So it's pretty split on our poll. It's 45 for Tay and 54% for Jade. A little more split than I thought. I think they could give it to Tay because, like Tim kind of joked, Mrs. Sammy Guevara is your TNT champion. You got Tay Conti TBS champion. They do their vlog. It's kind of like a cross promotion thing. So I can see that for the promotional aspects. And I think Tay's the better wrestler, so it makes sense. So I'm going to go with my gut and say, I'm going to go with Tay. So I'm going to go against you guys, but I'm going to go with Tay because I think she's ready for it. I think she has the charisma. She has the talent to kind of run with it. It was great for Jade to get that initial. This could be like more of a maybe Sterling costs her the match, which protects her. But I think it's going to be Tay.
They could be the network couple.
That's right. Next up is a 6-man tornado tag team match. You have the HAFO, easy for me to say. You have Andrade.
It spells awful, by the way. I'm just kidding.
It's Andrade, El Idolo, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy against Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Sting. For some reason, I don't think this is going to be very good. I don't know. You got a lot of talented performers. I'm a big Darby Allin fan. I'm a big Sting mark, but this just seems like a big cluster to me, and I don't really have high hope for it. I think Sting eventually will have a loss in AEW, but I don't see it here. I'm going to go with Allin, Guevara, and Sting for the win.
Yeah, the faces go over. This is going to further the storyline of Matt Hardy breaking to eventually bring Jeff in with him, I think. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason for Andrade and them to win. There's just no reason. Sammy Guevara is who takes the pin here? You don't really want to pin Sting because
it's going to be Isaiah Cassidy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look at the 6 guys and pick who's going to take the pin.
Yeah, which realistically would be Matt Hardy or Isaiah Cassidy taking the pin. Yep, because they can afford to. And, they already made Andrade shine in Rampage. That match was phenomenal. The triple threat they opened the show with. Like, they all killed it. And some of the spots they hit were just ridiculously timed. Like, at one point, you got Darby laying next to Sammy. He does a moonsault. Darby rolls. He lands on his feet, does another moonsault as Sammy's rolling. He still lands it perfectly. It's like, he looks fine. So I know people are going to say, oh, they're burying Andrade. Because I can already see these kind of comments, coming out of the air. But they can't take the win here. It's got to be, I'm going with you guys, it's got to be Sting, Darby, and Sammy.
Was that a constipated Tony Schiavone? Or?
I didn't want to hurt people's ears. I can't do it like Roland does, like the whisper one. So, Roland, I'll let you take it away. Let's fix it. It's who?
Sting.
Come on, you're killing me. You always hear it's Sting. Thank you.
Tony Schiavone. Oh, my God, it's Sting. But yeah.
But I agree. Yeah, I can't wait to see the brother Nero showing up because they keep teasing the whole erratic behavior thing, taking those jabs every week. So maybe that's what costs the match. Maybe Matt Hardy does something or screws him over, or maybe he walks out again.
Well, that match against Sammy where he looked like he took the feet off the ropes for Andrade. Like it looked like he pushed it. So they're already planting the seeds. So
yeah. The card going forward now, I think really picks up. A lot of great matches to discuss, including this one. It's a 3-way tag team match for the World Tag Team titles. You have Jurassic Express with Red Dragon and the Young Bucks. I mean, this potentially could steal the show, especially with Red Dragon and the Young Bucks. Jurassic Express, they're really talented. I'm not sold. I don't like the gimmick. To me, it's too childish to me, but I mean, they can work in the ring. So I think this is going to be a really good 3-way, although 3-ways can get a little clustery sometimes, as we've kind of discussed before. But, you have such great talent here. I think it's going to be a good match. I actually think the Young Bucks are going to win this one. I'm going to pick them. I think they could use the titles again to regain some momentum that they kind of lost lately. So I'm going to go with the Young Bucks.
For some reason, I have this in my head that it's set up for O'Reilly and Fish to just steal it. They've been doing some very underhanded stuff, even against the Bucks lately. Dumping them out of that first match when they qualified, and I think the plan is for the 3 of them with Adam Cole to essentially take over AEW. So step 1 would be for Red Dragon to win this match. And it wouldn't surprise me if they end up, working with the Bucks for most of the match. Then they end up turning on them. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Bucks eat the pin here. I think you can probably beat Jungle Boy and it won't really hurt him much. I think that it ends up being they essentially predispose the Young Bucks. They just, beat them up, leave them outside the ring, essentially, attack them and leave them down and laying, and then steal the belts from Jurassic Express. So that's where I'm going with it.
So you alluded to what my whole strategy for my predictions is too, is the Undisputed Era Part 2. Yep. So I agree. I think Red Dragon wins. And I think they do go over the Bucks, believe it or not. I think it's kind of an underhanded way. I think it's going to be something like Jungle Boy gets Nick or Matt down, and then they come in and they throw him out or something. They steal the pin over the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are like, what the actual fuck? And they're like, we had the opportunity. And then it starts that feud. because we know Kenny's close to coming back. So, and like Roland said in our roulette episode, this is what they're teasing. So this, Young Bucks versus essentially the Undisputed Era 2, whatever they're going to call themselves, the Super Elite, whatever. So I think it's got to be Red Dragon, and I think they do, because I think they're going to protect Jurassic Express, because they weren't supposed to be champions. We're all pretty much in agreement that when Rey Fenix broke his arm, they were like, yeah, you got to win the belts. And they've done a good job, carrying those belts and, having good matches with them. But I think it's time for them to drop them, and I think it's Red Dragon as well.
Next up is one of the matches I'm looking forward to the most. It's Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Straight up wrestling match. There's no gimmicks with this one. This is going to be a hell of a match, I think. I mean, this probably could be the match of the night. I know there's, several more matches to discuss, but to me, this is going to be the match of the night. I mean, yes, Bryan Danielson can work with anybody. I think Moxley can work with anybody. I have really high expectations for this one, and I think it's going to live up to them. As far as a winner goes, this is really tough, man.
Yeah.
I'd be interesting to see if there's a time limit with this one, because I could see a time limit draw happening with this. So I think that's where I'm leaning toward. If there's a time limit, I'm going to go with the time limit draw. If there's not, boy, this is a tough one. I think Moxley. I would pick Moxley, but I think Danielson with this character now can take a loss. But my main prediction is a time limit draw. If there's no time limit, I'm going with Moxley.
I am along the same lines of the time limit draw, but I think that if there's not, that Danielson ends up winning, only because this is kind of hopefully how Danielson will get Moxley to essentially join him, kind of beat him to join him kind of thing. And I think they could, be prime contenders for after the Young Buck Red Dragon feud if they end up being, or like Mongo had mentioned, he mentioned something about the Danielson dojo before, trying to bring people in and all this stuff. And, I think if they further the storyline, that Danielson has to win. And I think that Moxley's lost clean in AEW how many times? Not very many.
Not many.
So I think if anybody can beat him and make it believable, I think it's Danielson. And I think that's the reason. I think there's still more to the storyline here. I think that right now there's not much for Moxley to do besides that, in all honesty, because he can't really chase the world title right now, because I think that, like you said, Kenny's coming back soon. That's going to be tied up, I think. I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to give away my championship match. I'm just saying that, you would think that theoretically for it to go the way we're predicting, that, eventually that'll be tied up in that, that feud between those six guys. But I think I'm going to go with Danielson, or like Tim said, a time limit draw.
So I'm also going to go with Danielson. So Tim's the lone wolf here, but I think, hey, he could end up being right. We never know, because it's definitely a physical flip of a coin. I think Danielson, just because, like you said, Roland, to further the storyline. But I think this match is going to be a lot more brutal than we think, too, because it seems like they've been teasing violence. They've been teasing they're going to hurt each other. And Bryan Danielson's character is smart. He knows that if he wants Moxley to take him seriously, he has to go to Moxley's level. So I think this match is going to get a lot more brutal than we anticipate. And I think that Bryan Danielson is going to go to a place to take out Moxley, and like you said, be one of the only people who've pinned him clean. Or he'll do something like he'll hold his pants up and then on the promo be like, I just did what you would do, to get him to join. So I think it is Danielson to keep the storyline going. But either way, yeah, I agree, Tim. I think this is going to be match of the night. This is going to be a damn good match.
Absolutely. Next up is another singles match. You have Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston. They've been kind of going back and forth verbally for the last couple of weeks. This is a tough one for me, but I'm going to go with Kingston just because I think he needs a big-time win. He doesn't have a big-time win. And Chris Jericho, I think, is in a position where he could put over talent now, or he doesn't have anything to prove. And he can rebound from losses. He rebounded from the loss to MJF where he tapped out and stuff like that. So, and I think Kingston needs to win for momentum. So I think it's going to be a solid match. I'm going to go with Eddie Kingston for the win.
Yeah, I agree too. I think this is where Eddie gets his respect from Jericho. I think he earns the respect of Chris Jericho and ends up beating him. We saw Santana and Ortiz kind of bury the hatchet with Jericho the other day, saying that they were good again, that they seem to be at least on decent terms. So I think there's no other way to go at it. Jericho beating Eddie Kingston here doesn't do anything for Jericho. No offense to Eddie Kingston, it just doesn't. But Eddie, if he can quote unquote win the big one, if anything, it makes him a more believable contender for the TNT title. It makes him more viable as just a singles wrestler in general. So I think Eddie has the most to gain and needs to win. So that's where I'm going.
No, I think we're all in agreement. I agree. And the fans agree with us too. Over 64% saying Kingston. Because I think they're setting it up to be him. About him saying, I want the Jericho that was the champion. I don't want the Mimosa Mayhem Jericho. I want the best. And then Jericho's saying, well, I want the best too. So I think it's just going to be one of those matches where Jericho's going to probably do a little bit more than he usually would do to make Eddie go over, help Eddie go over and make him look more believable, like Roland said. I can also see Santana and Ortiz coming out and screwing Jericho over and going with Eddie and saying, Eddie's always had our backs. We always had to have yours. And that was a swerve, them saying we're good, because it kind of felt off because Santana didn't really look at Jericho. So that's why I can totally see something like that happening. I can see can go over getting the win.
That's a good point. Next up is the Face of the Revolution ladder match for a future AEW TNT title shot. You have Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Wardlow, and Christian Cage. So, like Mongo said, it's kind of a beefy ladder match. A lot of big guys in this one. This is tough for me because, to me, it comes down to Keith Lee or Wardlow. I think it's going to be one of those two, just because they've had the whole thing with Wardlow and MJF and not getting the respect and stuff like that, and Keith Lee just debuted. So, I mean, it's tough, but to me, it comes down to those two. I'm gonna go with Keith Lee. I think I'm really torn with this one though.
Yeah, there's a lot of believable names in there for a title shot too. Like, it's not like, remember when like WWE has some of the Money in the Banks? There's always like a couple of like scrubs thrown in. And you're like, they're not going to win. To be fair, all these guys could win this match. I'm going to go along the same lines, except I'm going to pick Wardlow. I think that he is so red hot that they need to capitalize on it. I think now's the time to do it. I think they need to give him something to legitimize him away from the Pinnacle. I think that by him getting this contract, it makes him essentially not have to be contracted by MJF anymore, because he now has a contract for a title match. So he doesn't necessarily need MJF because he has a quote unquote all he needs in that contract, the winning the contract for the title match. So I'm honestly going to go with Wardlow, and I could be dead wrong, but I hope that's where they go with it.
I swear you read my notes before the show, Roman. But no, yeah, I'm in agreement with you, man. It's got to be Wardlow. Like, the Powerbomb Symphony is over. His whole shtick is over. Even when he fought like that big dude, from the Wingman. I always blank on his name. Not Cesaro. Caesar.
Yeah, Benoni.
Oh yeah.
No, Cesaro's coming later in the ladder match, but no, I think it's got to be Wardlow, just because, like you said, to keep that streak going, and also tease that to MJF, like, I'm under contract now, bitch, like something like that. Like, I got one now. Do you think he carries around the Cheerio though the whole time, kind of like Money in the
Bank? He puts it over his head, just walks around with it,
right?
But I had put on there as a joke, like, Cesaro to win one so I think the one person who used their prediction to pick Cesaro, but I was just joking. I don't think he would debut he could, but I don't think he actually debuts in this match. But that would be kind of funny if Cesaro did come in and he grabs the brass ring. That'd be like a huge FU to Vince too. But I don't think they would sacrifice everyone else in this match for that.
Next up is the singles match for the AEW Women's World Title. You have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, against Thunder Rosa. I think it's gonna be a solid match. This one's close. I get. This is what I love about AEW. Like, it's hard to predict some of these matches. Whereas if this was a WWE show, I think we could 85% of it we could probably predict without any hesitation. There's a lot of matches that are hard to predict. This is another one. I could see both. I could see Thunder Rosa winning. I think they want to have Britt Baker though for champion for a while, so I'm going to stick with Britt Baker to retain. But I think it's going to be a great match.
Yeah, I don't think Britt Baker's time's up just yet. I think they need to keep going a little further. But yeah, this is going to be a great match. Probably as violent as the Bryanson pulling
Mongo there.
The Moxley Danielson match. It's going to be similar to that. Very hard hitting, kind of like their lights out match that they had. Probably not to that level, but I think it's going to be a solid physical match between these two women. And I think Britt Baker needs to keep carrying the title, because if they keep going, especially with Cargill with the undercard title, essentially, I think it's not, I think you need that star power, and she's proven to be a star. And I think that's one thing I will say about AEW is they don't title flop much. The only time they title flop is when Cody's involved, and they just do stupid stuff just to let Cody leave. But I think DMD retains.
So I was going back and forth on this one for a while because, like Tim said, it's very hard to predict these kind of matches. But the rumor is Thunder Rosa got hurt recently too, so I wonder if that could affect the plans. But I still was going to go with Dr. Britt Baker as well, because like you both said, they can't take the title from her yet. She needs to go past Double or Nothing so she can beat Sheeta's reign, because that's going to legitimize her. She's like, I held up the longest. She can be even more obnoxious of a heel than she already is. I think there's no one. She's kind of like their Roman Reigns. Like, who's going to beat her right now? It's got to be a big moment for someone to beat her. So, as much as I love Thunder Rosa, she's one of my favorites. It's got to be Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Next up is the dog collar match between CM Punk and MJF. I was just thinking, it just came to me, like, this feud really it doesn't fall. It's hard to predict because if you try to follow traditional wrestling logic,
everybody's me.
Wrestling logic, it's hard to predict because you have MJF going over Punk earlier. He screwed him out of a match. You have emotional promos between the two, and then you have MJF leading Punk in a bloody mess. So normally, it's just like, if none of that happened, if it had just been a verbal feud up to this point, I would have gone MJF. But since they had where MJF has already cost Punk a match, he bloodied him up, I'm going to lean towards CM Punk. I think it's going to be a brutal match. I know you said that the Danielson-Moxley match is going to be brutal. I think this can probably even be more brutal than that one. I think there's going to be a lot of color in this. And there should. It's a dog color match. I think color is warranted here. I'm going to go with CM Punk, but I think this is going to be a really good match.
The question is, does little Max actually know how to cut himself? Or is Punk going to have to do it for him?
True.
Because every time that there's been blood involved with Max, it seems like it's been fake. It hasn't been often, but when it just seems like Max is, I don't want to cut my forehead. So I mean, we'll see what level he goes to here. I also agree. I feel like we're not done. I feel like Punk can end up winning this match and it still keep going if they want it to, because MJF can then come out and say, well, it took you using a gimmick match to beat me. You couldn't beat me in a wrestling match. So if they want to keep going, which, to be fair, this feud has not staled out at all. So they very well could keep it going. But yeah, I think CM Punk gets his win back. 50-50 booking at its finest. And like I said, it sets up what could be a rubber match, an actual wrestling match to, because Punk can say that MJF cheated, and MJF can say, well, you had to use a dog collar to beat me. So I think that realistically, even if this is the end of the feud, I feel like Punk has to win this match. I just don't see, no matter what, they've done what they needed to do with MJF to get him to that next level, even if he takes a loss to Punk here.
This is another one that's been so hard to predict because it could go in so many directions. This has been the feud of the year. Like when they do their awards, this is feud of the year. Like hands down, this has been one of the best feuds I think I've seen in wrestling in a long time. It's what we hoped for more. When they started teasing it with him showing the picture and, a few months ago when they were really kind of planting the seeds and they kind of had their first match, you're like, that's not the blow off. This doesn't feel like the last one. It does feel like a trilogy to me as well. It's going to end a double or nothing, like Roland said, pure wrestling match. So I think CM Punk goes over. He beats the living shit out of MJF. Punk's going to have a lot of color. It's going to be a great match, but like Roland said, it's going to be MJF like, well, you had to beat me with a dog collar. I beat you twice. And then CM Punk's like, fine, you want to see who the best in the world is? And they set up some sort of match at double or nothing. So please keep going with this feud. It's one of the best ones right now. The promos have been absolutely intense. I mean, from the crocodile tears to him kicking him straight in the balls and then strangling him and making him bleed. Like, this is what 90s wrestle. And I love the throwback I think I sent to you, Roland, of them copying the CM Punk promo from Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And word for word, him saying, I am the monster. The best thing I ever did, best thing the devil ever did was convince the world he didn't exist. And when he said that, I'm a snake. I'm like, holy shit, that's a CM Punk promo. Like, it was just like goosebumps right there. So I love how they're both going after each other's history. So this is a blood feud. And like you both said, it's going to end in a lot of blood tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. So we made it to our main event. It's for the AEW World Championship. You have Hangman Adam Page defending against Adam Cole. So, before we did this show, I think I was leaning towards Page. However, you guys kind of convinced me of something with the tag team match. If Red Dragon wins, I could see them costing Page the win in this match and Adam Cole winning. I think you guys kind of convinced me. I'm going to go with Adam Cole to win and become the new champion because they're pushing him hard. I don't think it's going to be a clean finish, though. There's going to be some shenanigans going on. I don't think he beats Page clean at all, but I think Cole does win and becomes the new champion.
I don't think it helps Adam Cole any bit to lose here. I think he needs to keep that rocket ship strapped to his back. He needs to keep going. Hangman's done a great job, but to be fair, where does he go from here? In all honesty, that's the difference. Hangman right now doesn't necessarily have a path to a next match, where Adam Cole does, because like you said, Kenny's coming back soon. The Bucks and Red Dragon and Cole have been feuding off and on for a while, kind of together, apart, stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of feel like Adam Cole ends up winning this match. I don't know how clean it'll be, like Tim said, but I feel like Adam Cole wins this match.
So I think no matter what, Adam wins. I was waiting.
Show's over.
Right? No, but seriously, like I was telling earlier how Roland read my mind. I also think it's, Adam Cole, baby. Boom. Like it's just got to be. He's so red hot. Even as a heel, he's red hot.
Yeah. And
I know people will shit on, but I'm excited for the potential of the Undisputed Era too, with Red Dragon and Adam Cole having the belts. Like, oh shit. Like, and they say, we're here to take over. And it sets up the feud between the Young Bucks and Kenny. And here's how I think it sets up. Hangman did a great job, but the problem is with face champions, they can't be champion for too long because it gets stale. And the reason why it gets stale is because it's an old Shakespearean type of thing. You need the hero to chase the villain for it to mean something. Yep. And it's true in wrestling. So Kenny's coming back as a face. I think this is setting up for Kenny and the Bucks to get their face turn, and then Red Dragon and Adam Cole to be heels. So that way you have Kenny, the hero, chasing Adam Cole, the face. Excuse me, I said that backwards, but Kenny, the face, chasing Adam Cole, the heel. Because that's what's going to make the championship. That's what's going to make those title matches mean something. They're chasing, don't try and dethrone that villain. Why do you think, the WB wants to book Roman the way they do? You need that mega heel to be chased by a hero. You need that David versus Goliath moment. They're making fun of Adam Cole's, dad bod on the internet, his stature. What better way to piss off those, smarky ass fans than to give him the belt and keep that rocket strip? Because, like you said, Roland, this kills his character a lot if they have him lose clean. So I think you're both right. It's going to be chicanery, but it's going to be Adam Cole standing tall at the end of the night.
And for some reason, it would not surprise me if this is the match where someone kicks out of the buckshot too. I know they haven't done that yet. It would not surprise me if for some reason foot on the rope, kick out, whether now it could be, Bobby Fish putting his foot on the rope, but it would not surprise me if he hits a buckshot and it's not the finish.
No, I think either way it's going to be a solid match too. We're running down this card like Tim said. There's not really a bad match on the card. I mean, you would appreciate you have 12 matches in the buy-in on YouTube. I mean, 3 great matches get you to order the show, and then I don't really see one that I'm like, I know you're not really excited, Tim, about the AHFO, but I still think there'll be fun enough spots that'll be entertaining. But I mean, this is why we like doing the predictions for these shows with you guys, the fans, because these shows are more exciting. These feel like what WWE used to be, where I was joking with them, like, okay, what are we having for dinner? It's Revolution night. She was like, I don't know, I feel like it's more like I'm more excited about this than WrestleMania. I'm more excited about Double or Nothing than WrestleMania, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I am too. This is a stack card. This is one of the best cards that I've reviewed in a long time, and I would agree. I think it's going to be way better than WrestleMania. It's just so much talent, so many great matches on the card, and looking forward to the show tomorrow night. I don't think it's going to disappoint.
Well, and plus WrestleMania is going to have Charlotte Ronda, so
yeah.
So some of the bonus pictures that people wrote in, there were some good ones on here. This one I feel like Roland probably secretly wrote. Wardlow finally turns on MJF. Deonna Purrazzo shows up. Okay, that makes sense. She's the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. That makes sense. Jeff Hardy, he can't show up yet because I think his thing's up Wednesday.
They've already said there's been quote-unquote tampering going on there, so WWE is supposedly looking into it to see if they can press charges on AEW, too, if you missed that. If you missed that article.
Geez.
Yeah.
Danhausen gets involved in the ladder match. His foot's broken. I don't think they'd want him
Well, I could see him having a spot where someone reaches under the ring to grab a ladder, and Danhausen, comes out with it and curses him, something like that. But yeah,
Jonathan Gresham shows up against the winner of Adam Cole versus. Okay, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion. That makes sense. And then this one says, "Holy shit, there will be blood." Yeah. I agree with that one. Yeah. So I don't think there's gonna be mega debuts. I joked about Cesaro, but I think it's just gonna be a straight good because they don't want to make every single pay-per-view there's gonna be a random surprise debut, because then when it doesn't happen, it's gonna piss people off.
or when we get Leo Rush again, it's like, oh great.
Oh, did you hear he pulled out of another match?
No way, not Leo Rush.
I wanted to see, if the water is wet would surprise you there.
So yeah, that's our breakdown for AEW Revolution 2022. Should be an excellent show tomorrow night. Coming up for you guys next week, I think we're doing TNA, right? Next week TNA episode. And what's the episode name? I was not prepared today, folks. You don't know it either?
I have it written down. It is.
This is some good podcasting right here, folks. You don't get three more prepared individuals than us.
Well, in our defense, the three of us haven't been together in a while, so we didn't do our pre-gaming as much as we normally do. But it's TNA Destination X 2006.
All right, perfect. I knew it was 2006. Destination X 2006. As we continue our journey
Tim
through TNA 2006. And then if anything significant happens with this pay-per-view, we'll obviously break it down for you guys next week as well. But that's coming up, for you guys next week. Anything else before we leave?
All right, well, that's our show. Are we just gonna hang out here? We didn't sign off.
I'm not in charge of the sign off.
All right, folks. If you're listening to this right now, thank you, because we don't know what the hell's going on. But we'll see you next week. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fewless.
And I'm Mongo.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. Thank God it's over.
I hope you're all having a nice day.